It's one of the most expensive shoes in the history of the sport. It's also one of the most influential. And no, we're not talking about Air Jordans. On February 20, 2019, Duke faced UNC in what would be the 26th game of the regular season. A highly anticipated game that had personalities such as Spike Lee and Barack Obama in the stands due to the huge rivalry that existed between the two colleges. It really was a game for the ages. Now, with March Madness just around the corner, no Duke player wanted to take any risk. No one wanted to get injured in the most important part of the season. But 30 seconds into the game, what you're about to see happened.
In the Syracuse game, and he just his leg went out from underneath him. He just grabbed the back of his leg. He's walking off.
Zion Williamson, the player labeled as the new LeBron James, the new generational player that would dominate the NBA, suffered a grade 1 right knee sprain because of his shoe. A catastrophe caused by a sneaker malfunction that nearly cost the world's most famous college athlete his season. Even more importantly, a situation that seriously affected Nike, a real powerhouse in the world of fashion and sports that has dressed tens of thousands of athletes during its history. But what many fans have been wondering is, what really happened to that shoe? The answer is much more surprising than you think. So let's talk about it.
Zion, what's going on, Zion? Zion, whatever happened to the Nikes that you bust out? Did you keep them as a souvenir?
Ask Coach about them.
Okay. Kobe or LeBron, Zion?
Oh, Big Z.
Everyone knows that Zion Williamson's frame is not normal. No 6'7", 285-pound man should ever come close to an NBA roster. But Zion, man, he was different. His athleticism allowed him to do things he shouldn't be able to do. Yet Nike didn't take the necessary steps to avoid disaster. When Zion put on the Nike PG 2.5, a sneaker that had just debuted a few months earlier, he really made a mistake. It was a recipe for disaster, because Nike's own website describes the model like this. The PG 2.5 is designed for the game's most versatile players. It's light yet strong, with a supportive strap and comfortable cushioning that responds to every fast, focused step. The PG-1 was the most worn shoe in the entire NBA, and it was based on Paul George's frame.
First is I want to wish him all the best. I don't know the severity of the injury right now, but just wish him all the best through the recovery if it is something severe. And honestly, I'm just getting there for him through that time of being hurt and being injured on a big stage, big game. Him not being able to play that.
But it's clear that the 2.5 version was not the best choice for a 285-pound forward. And as several former players like Corey Alexander or Swin Cash pointed out, the LeBrons would have been a much better choice. This is not nonsense. Athletes design shoes that are completely comfortable for them. And there's no doubt that Zion Williamson is a much more similar profile to Bron than Paul George, right? When his entire body weight rested directly on the edge of the sneaker, the fiber was completely destroyed. And all the footwear experts tried to find a reasonable explanation. Beyond the mass and power of Zion, another reason the shoe blew out was because it didn't slip. Shoe companies design soles for high traction, but that allows large, powerful players to cut even harder, putting greater stress on other aspects of the design. But talking after the fact is easy, isn't it? The reality is, these shoes cost Nike a fortune, over a whopping $1 billion. The stock market value of the company fell by 1.7% just a few hours after the event, because no one wanted to see a player like Zion injured, especially a few months before the most important tournament of his life because of a defective shoe. Also in June of that same year, everyone expected the forward to be the first pick in the 2019 NBA Draft.
Zion Williamson from Duke University.
Emotions evident for Zion as he becomes the third #1 overall pick from Duke.
But we all know what happened next. Zion was able to play in March Madness because the injury was minor, and he did get picked first overall in the draft, although his career at the elite level has been slightly disappointing. Yes, he's a star, but Williamson was poised to become a generational player, although, to be honest, injuries have been a key factor in his lack of development. Now we have to answer the million-dollar question. What really became of the infamous billion-dollar sneakers? Well, for a long time there was speculation that the sneakers were owned by Lee Anderson, who was none other than Zion's stepfather. After Nike investigated what really happened, an investigation where the results went unpublished, by the way, the whereabouts of the sneakers were totally unknown. However, in May of this year, we got an important update. Golden, a collectibles marketplace with a special emphasis on sporting goods, announced on May 10th the impending auction of the shoes Zion wore that night. However, a dispute postponed the auction for a few weeks, which created the perfect situation, and interest in the item began to skyrocket. To that point, a few weeks later, Golden's own CEO said that these sneakers were valued at over $250,000. A figure that's not crazy considering the precedents. After all, the sneakers that Michael Jordan wore on October 29, 1985, the day he broke his foot, were auctioned for a total of $422,130. As of today, there's been no new news. And there probably won't be in the future, considering that Golden stated that the consignor of the item would prefer to remain anonymous. Regarding the whereabouts of these sneakers, Golden's CEO is one of the only few who knows. It's likely that sooner than we all think, they will be auctioned off for several $100,000. Although this is a really low price compared to what that unfortunate accident cost Nike.